¿Qué pasa, familia de dinero? I'm your host, Champion El Dinero, a truck driver on the detour towards wealth, and I hope that you join me on this journey. And if you're a new viewer, sit back, relax, and I hope that you kick back and might consider joining the Familia de Dinero. And if you're a returning viewer, shout out to you. You're looking fantastic. Make sure to hit that like button. It spreads it out and helps me with the algorithm. We are on the journey to 500 subscribers, and I'm going to pretty much implement starting every Monday, hopefully every Monday, of course, if something were to happen. This is going to be a money motivational Monday. So typically I'm not going to be in the studio. I'm going to be somewhere else and kind of like getting out there in the field. So I want to implement that. But to start it off, we're going to start here at home and then we're going to branch out. But I'm going to start off with this. There was a time that I was on top of the world. I felt like I was a king. I felt like I was made it in life. I had my own company car. And I was faced with such a horrible thing that nobody should experience, which is losing a child. And so I remember that pretty much after losing my child, my job did not give me a grieving period. On top of that, I had to pretty much collect myself and figure out what I wanted to do. I left that job. It was hard for me to find another one. And then I remember the power man came to the backyard and heard crunching and crunch. They shut down the power. It was months that, the bill hasn't been paid. It was a hard time in my life, a very difficult time in my life. And, I don't really talk about it a whole lot, but when I come down from, when I say this, the phrase, look poor, but be rich, I can't agree with it. I used to support that saying, look poor, but be rich. But I want to change that to something more reasonable. Look comfortable, but be rich. At that time, I felt like I was on top of the world. And of course, certain things just got thrown at me that I had no idea about. I didn't know that it was going to come my way. I mean, who the heck would? But, at that time, I was living a life with high amount of credit cards. I had so much debt because I was making so much more money. I was a sales rep at a big company with a company car, feeling like I was on top of the world. And then, unfortunately, when I got knocked down to my lowest point in my life, when it comes down to monetization or money, finances, I was unable to keep up that lifestyle. And I remember trying to do Uber Eats in order to feed the family. It was hard. It was definitely difficult, but I did it. And I was trying to find myself throughout that process and trying to gather myself. And one thing that I reminded myself was always be comfortable, right? Don't try to go to extremes. And for example, for everybody, you were in high school, right? You might not relate to me in the first part, but everybody kind of went to high school. If not, you have some kind of idea of, school. And I remember that high school for us was the most popular thing was high socks. Like you got to wear these high socks with Nike slides. Now, my parents didn't want to get us it. They later on did after it was out of fashion, but it was something that everybody wanted. And typically when you think of wealth, you think of, okay, fast car, nice clothes, big house, in a boat. That's typically what you think about. When I think about wealth, I think about fine art, right? I think about collectibles that I really like. I like certain clothes, but I'm very selective. I think I only get real clothes that I enjoy, probably on a rare occasion. And typically I think about just no bills, right? When I think of wealth. You can really start building wealth even with a $50,000 job with no bills, including no rent. So if you're an young individual right now, and you don't have any bills and you have a job that pays $30,000, no bills, you're rich because you have ample opportunity in order to capitalize on it. I can tell you how many times already I could have been rich. I could have been rich when Roaring Kitty came first out because I was in the stock market, but I went into AMC. I was a part of it, but I just didn't delve into it. I didn't have enough money. And I saw the success in it for just a minute minute. But this is the thing. I think that the saying, look poor but be rich, is so incorrect, because I think you should be comfortable and love what you have. You should be like honest with yourself. I think that that's the biggest problem that we have as individuals, is that we're not honest, right? We're trying to make our lives look like this way. And you know, I remember when I was a kid, I got on my bike. And I would always say, zoom, zoom, zoom. You know, back then that was Mazda's like saying. And I always wanted a Mazda ever since then. I got it. You know, other people didn't really appreciate it. They didn't care about it. They thought it was a car. But to me, it was my childhood. And when I stopped looking for other people's validation, and it's never going to go away. You're not totally going to get rid of all the validation. But the moment that I started focusing on myself and loving the comfortability that came with being myself, I started to grow wealth. Now, I stumbled, I failed, and I gave up money here and there and here and there. And I'm still on that detour towards wealth. That's what I say in the beginning of the video. But what helped me was understanding myself on a level of what I really wanted out of life. Is that traveling? Do I really care about traveling as much as somebody else does? I do, but not as much as somebody else. I find that, you know, traveling probably once or twice a year is good for me. Other than that, if I was completely wealthy, I don't see myself jumping around too much. I think I would like to work on a lot of projects that I have inside my mind. If I had to look at fast cars, to be honest, I have driven quite a range, like a bunch of vehicles. I was a valet once. And so I drove the Jag, I drove the Porsche, I drove all of these different cars. And to be honest, they all look flashy. They look all nice, but I only really like the Corvette. It's a car that you can blend in. It's a little bit like, ooh, that's nice, but it's a car that you can actually blend in, and I love it. I also like a Ram. I like a Ram truck. You know, I'm a truck driver, so I like a truck. But other than that, I mean, I would like to rent out probably a supercar to go on the track, and that's about it. And this is me, like, hopefully in a few years, or if I get wealthy immediately or something like that, that I can really staple on and say, hey man, this is where you were. Like I said, I felt on top of the world. I was a young man making substantial amount of money, and then my world crumbled in an instant, and it was a domino effect. So if it's a domino effect for me to fall from the kings of kings to, you know, poverty, the one thing that I want to do is live a life of comfortability. That means that I have little to no bills, that I don't have to feel that feeling anymore. And, you know, I remember even having to sleep in my car for heat. That's what's crazy. But the idea, again, like I said, about being poor, look poor, getting clothes that you don't really care about, getting things that, you know, it's not. Why not get the things that you like? You know, some of the most expensive, I love wearing joggers, right? Love wearing joggers. And the best quality joggers that I had to kind of like really realize, I was like, man, these are actually really good quality. They cost a lot, but they're great quality. They don't get stained a lot. They are very flexible. They're soft, and I like them. The older I get, I'm become more analytical. Are Old Navy joggers. They have the zipper, so if I go to the gym, I don't have to worry about things falling out of my pocket. You start looking at the functionality, and then the price doesn't matter, because you're like, okay, when it comes to the competitors of joggers, I know that I'm gonna go to Old Navy rather than this place right here. I walked into multiple stores. There's like a fashion, everybody has like a fashion or upscale mall around, and I walked into ours, and I walked into this one location, and the gentleman looked at me up and down. He said, what are you looking for? I said, a leather jacket. The leather jacket that I was looking at, I think was like $500-600. And I asked him, you know, is this a mixed blend? Is this completely pure leather? What are we dealing with here? He looked astonished. He was like, oh wow, like this young man knows what he's talking about. Because, you know, I went back to this lady. I always provided good customer service, but when I worked at Macy's, right, I remember I took the time to help this lady. She just, you know, loved shopping. She was a rich lady and everything like that. And I remember a jacket that I liked. She asked me, like, what did I like? And I said, oh, I love this jacket, you know, it's really cool. I think your son will like it. She said, well, I know my son will like it, but I'll buy it for you. I had that jacket for the longest, but unfortunately it fell apart. You know, and that taught me a lot about leather. You know, it wasn't real leather, so it would crack, it would break, and then it kind of made me look at the quality. Yeah, she bought it for me and I held on to it for years, and even today I have that memory. But I always look at the quality of things now. And so you can live poor, but you'll have bad quality and you'll spend a whole lot more to do the complete opposite of what you were trying to do. But if you get quality and comfortability, you will get a lot further than somebody that's trying to fake a life of being inauthentic. If you're a minimalist, be a minimalist. That's something at heart. If you're somebody that loves to go on yacht trips, make sure that your life can sustain it. But honestly, you have to be comfortable with it, or you can get knocked down easily. I mean, it's not something that takes pretty much years to get you knocked down. It's only one instance. If you didn't fortify and build a strong enough structure, you will fall and fail. So when it comes down to it, thank you guys so much for this motivational Monday. Again, when it comes down to your finances, I've learned a lot. I've learned so much about it, unfortunately, and sometimes you wish that you could live a regular life or had lived a regular life, but I wouldn't have this advice to give to you had it not been the experiences that I've been through. And so, of course, I'm on a detour towards wealth. And the only way for me to get there is not alone. It's with you. And I appreciate you watching. If you got to this ending, you know, comment down below what money means to you and what is your goal with the money. Money to me has always been a tool. I talk to my cousin. It's like, man, I got this dollar bill right here, right? You have this dollar bill. It's always just been a piece of paper to me. Some people actually idolize it. They idolize this dollar. They love it. They hold on to it. And so they want to minimize risk. And so instead of living a life of comfort, they live a life of restraint, fear, not knowing that I could still go broke either way. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch all of you, Familia de Dinero champion investors, in the next one. Adios.